Ultimately, if we want a new reality, we also have to sign up to the fact that our personality, how we think, act, and feel, will need to alter because it's our personality that's creating our personal reality. Hi, my name is Jenny Burrell, and welcome to the Power Years Project podcast, a virtual healing space for all women ready to embark on their radical midlife redesign. This podcast is ode to all the amazing possibilities still to come, all the life yet to be lived, and how we journey to a truly self-authored life. Hello and a warm welcome to episode number 5 of the Power Years Project podcast. This episode is ode to one of my personal mentors. And I say personal because I have consumed a lot of his work. So it's really personal at this level. His name is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And the book I'd like to focus on for this episode is his text, his groundbreaking text called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself: How to Lose Your Mind and Create a New One. So every few months, I'm somehow prompted to dive back into this book, and each time I find a new depth of wisdom and understanding. My latest foray prompted this episode of the podcast, and I'd love to share with you the goodness and wisdom I found this time. The principles within the book are super simple. If you want a new outcome, i.e., a new life, you will have to break the habit of being yourself and create or reinvent a new self. So if you're a fan of the Power Years Project, I know that you're down with this. But are you down with it on an intellectual level or a thinking, feeling, and emotions level? Because it's the thinking, feeling, and emotions element of this proposition that requires our deepest and most compassionate and consistent attention in order to reinvent or create that most desired new self. Ultimately, if we want a new reality, we also have to sign up to the fact that our personality, how we think, act, and feel, will need to alter because it's our personality that's creating our personal reality. I'll just do a rewind on that one again. So, if we want a new reality, we have to sign up to the fact that our personality, how we think, act, and feel, will need to alter because it's our personality that's creating our personal reality. And just in case that's a really scary and big concept to you, the good news is that it's not all about creating this new personality all at once. In reality, this happens via the gradual erosion of the old version of you and the gradual rebirthing of your next manifestation. Nearly every single person I work with wants to rid themselves of some perceived self-defeating habit or self-defeating thought. They want to think differently, they want to act differently, and therefore feel differently. And although nobody has ever outright asked for it, I believe that many people want a new and improved personality. They want a new personality and think it's going to be a heroic task. And that's why many are surprised by the simplicity of the questions I ask and also the homework tasks that they are set. But make no mistake, little hinges swing big doors. And the magic is in the micro. The magic of change is in changing the tiny individual things and thoughts that we all have 100 times a day. Attention to the micro, getting still, self observation, and getting to the origins of long held beliefs eventually brings those long desired macro shifts. And continuing that work will make those shifts stick. And it is a beautiful thing when you see and feel that shift in action the next time you experience some kind of life pressure. And then you notice that it's possible to pause between a familiar stimulus and your usual response, and then a newer, improved, more helpful, more proactive, rather than reactive choice can be made. And then you take some time to witness how that new choice feels in your body, and you notice that it feels better, it feels good, and life feels better with this new choice. And so then you agree to do that again and again and again until you've broken the habit of being your old self and created a new mind. So obviously, Dr. Joe Dispenza, this is his theory and he's the master explaining this principle. So if you're listening on a podcast channel, head over to my website, because there I've embedded a wonderful video of Dr. Joe explaining this principle, and it's just perfect and succinct. So, in this episode, I wanted to share with you 3 simple yet deeply powerful tools that I've been using with clients recently to assist them in their journey to creating a new reality for themselves. Unsurprisingly, these strategies involve a little going inside and getting quiet. They involve noticing more. They involve reconnecting to one's innate intuition. And most importantly, they involve learning to remain in the present moment. Now, you might wonder why learning to be and stay in the present moment for longer throughout your day is a life skill worth developing. And that, if you're alive and going about your day, then surely you must be in the present moment. But annoyingly, it's not quite that simple. Being in the present moment requires a cajoling of the mind and our thoughts away from both events of the past and events of the future, which is where most of us unhelpfully reside throughout most of our day. And if you need to pause and think about that for a moment, please do, because I think you'll find that statement is pretty much true for all of us. And now I think I can hear you say, so what's so special about the present moment? Well, it's really special because it's actually the place where we experience the most joy, ease, flow, peace, calm, and ultimately perception of happiness. And who doesn't want all of that? For so many of us, our perceived discontent and perceived dissatisfaction with life can literally be transformed by focusing our attention more on the present moment as opposed to being in the past or future predicting. For so many people, all that's required is a tiny glimpse of what life could feel like if they were more present in the moment. And that big door of awareness starts to swing open. Oh, and the good news about that big door starting to swing open is that it literally can only ever swing in one direction and can never swing back closed again. Once your awareness and consciousness is elevated, it's pretty much impossible for you to unlearn what you've just experienced. In researching this podcast, I happened upon an article titled "A Wandering Mind is an Unhappy Mind" by Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert, in which they wrote, "Unlike other animals, human beings spend a lot of time thinking about what is not going on around them, contemplating events that happened in the past, might happen in the future, or will never happen at all. Although this ability is a remarkable evolutionary achievement that allows people to learn, reason, and plan, it may have an emotional cost too. Many philosophical and religious traditions teach that happiness is to be found by living in the present moment, and practitioners are trained to resist mind wandering and to be here now." So their fascinating study concluded that the human mind is a wandering mind, and a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. The ability to think about what is not happening is a cognitive achievement that comes with an emotional cost. So, would you like to try an experiment for around a week? I've got three tools to share with you that are super easy to implement, but have the potential to be profoundly transforming, especially if you're usually a rushing woman or in need of more joy, ease, flow, and peace in your life. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, for many of us, there's the thought that life changes via huge, dramatic happenings or shifts. And it does for some people. But the truth is, overwhelmingly, that transformation can and usually happens by lots of cumulative micro shifts. Obviously, the 1% changes seem less sexy and dramatic, but they can still powerfully add up to transformation and leave you not recognizing yourself even after a few weeks of consistent and mindful application. Okay, so ready for the first transformational tool. This one is called Savoring the Moment. Now, this is a beautiful addition to anyone's life because it forces us to slow down and notice how much goodness there actually is all around us on a daily basis. This is how you do it. So you use the cues in your normal day, such as meal times, taking a shower, sitting in the car after the school run, or arriving at your workspace first thing in the morning, or eating a meal to tie into a new habit of, instead of doing that action, that everyday action on autopilot, you now turn your attention fully to the task with an awareness of every element of the activity and your environment, both outside of your body and inside of your body. So it's an everyday task. You do it a million times a day, but now instead of autopilot, you now zone in fully and have full focus on every element of that everyday activity. The aim is to invoke a sense of gratitude awe, and wonder for even the most basic element of the task at hand. Fully notice your washcloth or your sponge on your skin as you wash your body. Notice the smell of the soap. Have gratitude even for your sense of smell. Take time to both make and drink your morning coffee and wonder about the journey of the coffee beans into your cup. Who ground the coffee? Where did the beans grow? Have gratitude for the growers of the coffee beans. Make a meal or a snack with your full attention. Set a place at your table and savor the ingredients bite by bite. Give thanks for your sense of taste, even. The main point of this savoring task is that we run most of our lives on autopilot, which means we actually miss out on lots of opportunity for awe, wonder, and gratitude. This task is about taking ourselves off autopilot and literally taking time to smell the roses and actually noticing the potential for pleasure and joy in all the small and mundane things that make up most of our day. Again, the magic is in the micro. And if you've got a moment, I'd really encourage you to check out the full research within the show notes on the website and see the ongoing elevation in perception of happiness that the subjects experienced after this intervention. Okay, so moving on to our second transformational tool, gratitude notes. The act of gratitude journaling has been shown to positively impact perception of happiness in study after study. But here, the focus is moved to expressing gratitude to another person in our life via the sending of a gratitude note. On a daily basis, I think we all feel gratitude for someone in our lives, but do we actually express that directly in a written or verbal form? Probably not. So, what happens when we select a person a day to openly express gratitude to in the written form? Now, with modern email, it gets even easier to spend a moment to write an email to someone that you'd like to thank for being in your life. And obviously, then this can be supersized to a fully handwritten note, hand delivered, or even sent through the post. You know, what a thought, handwriting a note to send through the post. But joking aside, however you choose to deliver your gratitude note, without doubt it will be received well and most likely positively transform the receiver's day and your own. And if you'd like to take this a step further, you might actually like to bolt on a gratitude visit, as described by psychologist Martin Seligman in 2010, where first a letter is written to the recipient, followed by an in person visit. And Martin Seligman found that those expressing the gratitude reported an increase in their perception of happiness, plus a decrease in reported symptoms of depression for up to 9 months after the event. Now, that's surely got to be a win-win. The person receiving the gratitude, it's a win, and the person delivering the gratitude, that's a win for up to 9 months after the event. So, just a quick recap on those two first transformational tools. The savoring of the moment means that you slow down and you start to notice and feel more. And then the gratitude notes means that you're acknowledging that you feel more emotion, and then you're openly expressing that emotion. In both cases, we start to break a habit of being ourselves, and in the first case, rushing around and not noticing all the simple stuff that actually can bring us joy. And then B, in terms of the gratitude notes and even the gratitude visit, ah, there are just so many times when we feel strong emotion and feel gratitude, but we never actually vocally express that to someone. And what happens in the world, what happens in our world when we start to change that behavior? All right, so moving on to the final transformational tool, number 3, it's called widening your lens. Now, this is another simple yet profound habit that has the potential to transform your life. Make no mistake about this. Because, let me ask you a question. When you have a problem, does your attention on the issue zoom in to the problem, or does your lens, your attention, zoom out? If you're like most people on this planet, myself included, you've probably answered affirmative for the former. When we have a problem, we tend to zoom in, obsess, ruminate, create imaginary scenarios and ongoing conversations, all of which are generally unhelpful and don't, in general, move us along the continuum of problem solving. So, what happens when we start to flip the script on that habit of obsession and rumination and wishing that things had turned out differently? What happens when we literally zoom way, way out and view the problem within the context of, say, the duration of our entire lifetime? One of my favorite tools is to say, will this matter this time next year? And the answer literally always is no. If you're 50 and you say, will this matter when I'm 85? Well, the answer is always no. So you can see by just asking one very simple question, our perception of a conflict situation can be transformed in an instant. And another way to simply widen the lens on any perceived problems is to get a sheet of A4, draw a line right down the middle. On one side, you'll put the problem or the problems, what's gone wrong. And then on the other side, write everything that's gone right. And say this is your day, what's gone wrong in your day, possibly about 3 things. And then list beside those 3 things what's gone right. And instantly, again, in the moment, you've widened the lens, you've taken the tight focus of those 3 things that have gone wrong and just allowed yourself to remember everything that's gone right. And that act can completely dampen down the temperature on everything's gone wrong today. So, if your default is to rush through your day without savoring the small pleasures in life, if your default is to often feel gratitude and thanks but not express it openly, if your default is to focus on the negative or the smaller elements of life and daily life that are negative, as opposed to the greater list of everything that's positive, you can see how adding these 3 tools to 1 week of your life have the potential to create a transformation. Because in acting in these new ways, you start to break the habit of being your usual or former self and start living a life of your own design. And we all want that, don't we? So that's it for episode number 5. If the content of this podcast, this episode, has piqued your interest about midlife transition coaching, you know what to do. Please be in touch for your 15-minute free consultation where I'll walk you through the strategies that I employ to help you create a life of your own design. Take care and see you next time. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of the Power Years Project podcast. Don't forget, we've got lots going on the Facebook page, on Instagram, and on YouTube. And I'd love to see you there as well. Okay, take care for now. Bye-bye.